Okay, at this time, I'd like to call to order the Wednesday, March 19, 2025, regular meeting of the Royal Oak Downtown Development Authority. At this time, we'll have public comment. If anybody wants to address the board on a non-agenda item, we can do so at this time. If it's something that's on the agenda, we can address it when that item comes up. So who would like to go first? Mrs. Harrison.
Good afternoon, Laura Harrison, Royal Oak. How many of you, what were you guys doing in 1983? College? High school? Okay. I was trying to open a retail business downtown Royal Oak. I found a place, 519 South Washington. The owner of the building was Milt Hay. The rent was $6 a square foot. I had been working in the creative business for a long time, 5 years plus in a wholesale warehouse. Frank's Nurseries was one of my best customers, but I decided I wanted to do my own business. So I retired from where I worked. My boss was not happy, but I said, bye. I want to do it on my own. And I did. I was going to do it for 10 years. I did it for 35. I'm very proud, but I have to tell you, downtown, when I moved in, was deader than a doornail. We finally, around 1970 is when it really cut back because of Northland. A lot of the stores like the Winkleman's or, the corporate stores left. Anyhow, we started working. I met some great people. And from then on, up 1989, 696 opened. That really brought people downtown. All of a sudden, Washington Boulevard was 99% occupied by businesses like Nora Leather, Patti Smith, dime stores, Kleba's, gift shops, antiques, jewelry, and bakeries, Rupp camp fitters, hair salons, and lunch places. It was great down then, okay? So what I'm getting to actually, I think it was 89, 88 maybe, the city, because it was starting to build up again, decided they would, it looked tired, so they decided to do some sidewalk kind of things to attract people. So they put in greenery and things like that. Then they decided to put in the lights. Because I was there for so long, I got to know the guy that was taking care of the lights. Funny thing is, he was my next door neighbor to my in-laws.
2 minutes.
What's going on with the lights? I'll tell you. When they started to do that, first of all, the DDA was nothing. Anything we did downtown, they didn't have any money. So you're doing good, guys. Between 83 and the 90s, they started updating the downtown. They added greenery and lighting, decorative lighting. As we went along, the lights, always trouble, always trouble. So finally I asked my in-law's neighbor, what's going on? Why is it? Number one, they wanted to update the downtown. They were using current connections underneath. They did not do anything. So that lighting system there is 4,000 years old, I'm sure. So I think what you need to do, if you want to do something about it, and I would suggest that you start from the bottom. Start fixing the lights. It is a danger. When I was downtown, sometimes I would stay in the store. One time I walked out after it was almost midnight. It was dark as dark could be, but very nice gentlemen that lived in the apartments above my store, they used to take care of me. They were very good to walk me to my car. Anyhow.
Thank you.
Do something about the lights.
Thank you. Who would like to be next? Mr. Holbert.
Good afternoon. My name is Frank Hobrecht, and 1998 I bought a Kresge building. And when I bought the building, we had a dirt alley. 25 years later, we still have a dirt alley. Now, I was promised 2 years ago that the alley was going to be paved. It never got paved. Mr. Sophia and Mr. Dunstan, you and I met December of last year in our dirt alley on a cold December afternoon. I'm hoping that this is going to be the year that we're going to pave the alley. Mr. Solomon, I left you 2 emails on March 3rd. I got no response. I left you an email on March 12th. No response. Now's the time to get this alley on the agenda. I don't know what we're waiting for, but the money is there. I keep on seeing it in the budget, but let's pave the alley. It can't be a lot of money. I paid $66,000 in property taxes last year to the DDA. My neighbor paid comfortably $130,000, $150,000. It's not going to cost $200,000 to pave this last piece of the alley. It would be a wonderful improvement for the customers of Lily Seafood Grill that exit out the back door. In December, January of this year, I watched these people ice skate through this alley. It's a nightmare. So please get it on the agenda, make the allocation, improve this piece of Royal Oak for a business and for this building that needs to be supported. I thought it was interesting that we spend almost $1,000 a day subsidy on the ice rink, $1,000 a day. And yet we pay $1,000 a week in property taxes, and we can't pave our alley. So this is what I have. Please, let's do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Harris.
Thank you. Bill Harrison, 2729 Trafford, Royal Oak. Just wanted to comment on some of the reports. The demo bill for the Center Street structure, interesting set of proposals ranging from $600,000 to $1.6 million, and they're grouped several within those parameters. So it's interesting. When I was in the architect and engineering business, I used to throw out the lowest and the highest. The lowest didn't know what he was bidding. The highest was too busy, he didn't need the job, but this one's going to be tough because they're bracketed in the same range. Enough said. The lighting report was very detailed and excellent. It should be a good stepping stone for doing something about it. And as Laura said, it's been a long time coming. The parking system update, very good report. The only comment I have is I wish, rather than just limiting it to kiosk systems, that you would have opened the door for the Civic Smart system that's used in Birmingham. Has the same functions, only it emulates the old head on meter pole rather than the kiosk that people are familiar with, and they don't have to walk a distance from their car and back again if they're going in a different direction. So, and the Civic Smart, if you recall, several meetings ago, I handed out the letter that was written back in June of 2021 when the MPS system was selected. Actually, the recommendation from the parking director at that time was the Civic Smart system, and the city, in its eminent wisdom, went with the MPS system because it was going to generate a lot more revenue. As we know, it generated a lot of problems for the business owners in terms of people not coming to Royal Oak. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else want to address the board today? Seeing none, I will close public comment. Bring this back to the table. Next item is approval of the minutes for February 19th, 2025.
Motion.
Motion by Director Leclave. Second by Director Keith. Any questions or changes to the minutes? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next item is expense items, the monthly expenses for February. Director Yazbek.
What, the English Gardens item, what lights are, I thought most of those lights stayed up now. It says holiday light removal. What lights are being removed?
It's the removal, storage for the winter. That's that price under the contract. It's the balance that's owed them for the work. That's all that's in that $79,000.
But what, most of those lights stay up? I thought we made an adjustment where most of those lights are staying up on Washington. What lights are they taking?
Yeah, it's all. I
We,
have to go back and check.
Oh.
the lights that are removed, or have been removed that this charge is for the meteor lights. And then they only keep the monument trees lit. So any of the other lights, like Centennial Commons decorations, any other thing than those main ones at the main intersections are what come down.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff regarding the expenses? Seeing none, we'll move on. Regular business. First item is 2025 Royal Oak Holidays.
I guess I'll start with it.
Okay.
This request went through the marketing committee and was discussed at their prior meeting. The background on it was, you may recall that the original plan called for sponsorship of some $350,000. That was reduced in August of 2024 to $87,500. Based on a scaled down version of the project, building fewer huts, fewer marketing huts and things. At this point, Mr. Witz has come through with a proposal that is outlined in the items in front of you. The committee went over those in terms of the weekly features, that they're proposed by date through the month of December. The request from the DDA for those activities was to increase it from $87,500, another $55,000 to $142,500. So that would be the total sponsorship request for the features outlined in the packet that the board has in front of you. You also should have in your is a draft of the sponsorship agreement with the red line changes from last year's 2024 agreement. The committee is recommending, or did recommend, approval of the request, and there is a suggested resolution for the board's consideration.
Director Yazbek.
I will move for the resolution to be approved.
Motion by Director Yazbek.
Second.
Second by Director Clay. Questions? Comments for staff? Anything? Go ahead if you want.
Yeah, I'll just say that even though it was reduced from what was originally envisioned last year, the component parts, including cookie crawl, were very successful. Those will continue. It's just a wonderful community event, and we also enjoy, even though we're sponsoring in the amount of $142,500, the JWA is guaranteeing that they come up with sponsorship in a very similar amount. So we're really leveraging our money quite a bit here, and so that's I think why we had unanimous support at the Consumer Marketing Committee.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item, downtown outdoor ice skating rink.
This is a request for the ice skating rink that has been installed in the Centennial Commons since 2022, 2023. The DDA has allocated $150,000 for the last two seasons, 23, 24, 24, 25. That is a similar request that's being made for the 25-26 season at $150,000 to again provide the outdoor skating rink in Centennial Commons. The marketing committee is recommending approval. There is a suggested resolution in the cover memo.
Director Yazbek.
I will move the resolution.
Motion by Director Yazbek.
Second.
Second by Director Leclerc. Any questions or comments? We do have a representative here if anybody has anything that they need to have answered. Seeing none, I will go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes. The next item is the 6th Street Hazelton Third Amendment Agreement.
The board may recall that the Hazelton project at 2226 East 6th Street, the DDA entered into a TIF reimbursement agreement. One of the provisions in the agreement was to be substantially complete and have a certificate of occupancy for the building. Initially in May of 2024, the developer did request that get extended, and the board did grant an extension to December of 2024, and then a second extension was granted in December through March 31st of 2025. The project, as you see on South Troy Street, is substantially along, but based on the definitions of the contained in the reimbursement agreement, they basically need a temporary certificate of occupancy for the core and shell of the building. And there are a couple of minor issues left for them to obtain that. So they are asking for an extension at this point for additional 60 days, I believe.
Director Yazbek.
I read through Mr. Collins' letter. I don't think there's any reason to turn back now, so I would move to approve the resolution.
Motion by Director Yazbek. Second by Director LoGrasso. Questions? Discussion? Yeah, I would remind the board that the deadlines that are put forth in these agreements are basic, and we've done them many times, and they're there to basically protect the city from any abuses of long-term, without any progress type situations, and that's certainly not the case here. Looking to see how far along we are in the project, so I would support this resolution. Anything else? Nothing else? I will call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next item is 2025 Pride Royal Oak. Daniel?
So if the board will recall, back in, I believe, October, Pride Royal Oak gave a wrap-up report for the 24 event. At that wrap-up, they indicated they were looking at taking the event from a 2-day to a 1-day event. They have filed their SEP, and it is confirmed that it's going to move to a 1-day event. With that, they approached the marketing committee earlier this month with a proposal to reduce the sponsorship previously agreed upon for 2 years of $75,000 a year down to $50,000 a year, with the justification that 2/3 of their attendance has historically been on the one Saturday, as well as 2/3 of the hours of the event. I believe the committee offered a recommendation to approve the amendment down to $50,000, and a resolution is prepared for your consideration.
Okay.
Motion.
Motion by Director Leclave,
Second.
second by Director Dunstan. Any questions?
Saving money.
I just want to clarify, Daniel, that the change that's going from 2-day to 1-day, I just want to clarify that the market is still 100% on board with this? And is fully involved
Yes.
with the project?
Yep.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Thank you. If there's nothing else, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Sights and Sound sponsorship requests.
This is your standard annual request from the Royal Oak Farmers Market for their Sights and Sounds concert series, which coincides with their once monthly food truck rally between May and, I believe, September, or maybe August. So essentially the request has been historically to cover the sound and stage. We do currently have budgeted already for this fiscal year $8,000, and then this would allocate $8,000 for the next fiscal year to cover those events in July and August.
Okay, we have a representative if anybody has any questions.
Want to do it? Motion.
Motion by Director Clay,
You gotta say it.
I'll second.
second by Director London. Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes. Next item is sponsored agreement with Royal Oak Restaurant Association.
This is another annual renewal of the sponsorship for the beer stroll, wine stroll, and restaurant week in the spring. Essentially, it's $10,000 per event. This has been on the books. We are currently in our second year of this sponsorship, and this would make it the third year. And the committee did offer a recommendation for approval of the presented resolutions. I believe a representative is also here in case of questions.
Okay. Director Yazbek.
I'll make the motion to approve this resolution.
Motion by Director Yazbek. Just for clarification purposes, we're dealing with 3 resolutions.
Just one.
Just one? Okay. All right, so I have a motion by Director Yazbek, second by Director Dubuc. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes. Next item, Royal Oak Historical Society.
This is another renewal of a sponsorship opportunity. This one's for the Memorial Day Pancake Breakfast for the Royal Oak Historical Society. Stays in line with the standard $3,000 for the market rental with an additional bank of money for free meals for veterans and their families, of those that are in need. Representative for this, I believe, is also present, and the board offered a recommendation of approval as well.
Motion.
Motion by Director Leclerc to approve.
Pancakes for veterans. That's right. Second.
Second by Director LaGrasso. Director Yesbeck.
I believe, as I stated last year, my support for this motion is contingent upon Director Dunstan making the pancakes.
I'll be there.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes. Next item, contract modification with Fleece and Vanderbrink.
Yes.
Mr. Twain, or you're doing it? Okay, Daniel?
We'll combo this one. The Infrastructure Committee at their March meeting reviewed a request from Fleece and Vandenbrink, the contractor that is designing the fifth plaza for the board. As part of the initial RFP process, this board put out an RFP that indicated the plaza was estimated around $1 million. Following what is now 3 years of design, the price is looking to be closer to $3.3 million. As part of the initial contract approved with this board, as it represents the proposal that they put forth, the 5.85% design fee that's included in that contract, if the value increases over $1 million, they look to match that 5.85% against the actual value of the project. So within the memo, you'll note there are a couple details in here that relates to comparing the 2023 cost estimate that this board received and the 2025 cost estimate after the final design was approved. So of note within those original ones, because there were questions at the committee about how the price increased so dramatically, is the inclusion of those crosswalks, those enhanced tabletops that add the safety. And then additionally, in 2024, the final design, quote unquote, went back to the drawing board and added some additional features to the eastern portion, including a boardwalk surface and string lights that equated to about $300,000, which also adds to those design fees as well. The city engineer did review the proposed cost adjustments and has indicated that the 5.85% fee that's in there is actually below industry standard by a couple percent, as well as the construction phases services, 6.9% is about 2 or 3% less than we would expect from other contractors as well.
Okay,
The committee did not offer a recommendation on this.
yeah. Discussion or action?
Question.
Director Yesbeck.
In, I guess page 3 of 3, there's a chart there. It kind of breaks out the cost per section or per scope, portion of scope. West, which is Washington to Lafayette, $439,400. Does that cover the traffic, the pedestrian walkway on Washington, or is that just from Washington west of?
So that's essentially just west of that Washington intersection. So it's been broken up now into 5 pieces. So it's that west portion that runs from Stagecrafters next to Citizens Yoga. There's the east portion that runs from Keller Williams all the way down to the O'Toole's area. And then there's the 3 intersections. There's Lafayette, which connects the walkway to the opposite side of Lafayette Street, where the parking deck is. There's the Washington intersection, which bridges those two plaza pieces I just mentioned. And then there's the Center Street one, which connects the plaza over to the pedestrian crosswalk that goes across the railroad.
Okay, so Lafayette intersection would be the pedestrian walkway across Lafayette?
Yeah, the crosswalk, yes.
And then the east or
the
west,
west.
Washington to Lafayette is just that portion west of Washington. So that's roughly $1 million, correct? Those two portions?
Yep, just over.
Yeah,
With contingency, yes.
yeah. I think the question, Daniel, that some of the board members have or had in discussions I have with them is, should the DDA not follow through, hypothetically, should they decrease the scope of this project at any point as we move forward? We're still on the line for the design.
Yeah, all you're dealing with today is the increase in the design service fee to get to construction documents and the bid package. So it's basically the $179,000, which is the total to design the entire 5 segments. Once we have that done through Fleece and Vanderbroek, it would get bid out. The reason that we've broken it out with Fleece and Vanderbroek and our discussions is so that at that point, when the bids come back, you can decide, well, let's do this segment and that segment because they fit together and that's how much we want to spend today. It would be my recommendation at this point that you design the whole thing in terms of construction documents and bid out all 5 segments. These are guesstimates based on, you know, the engineering staff and Fleece and Vanderbroek's best thing. So, you know, for the overall cost of about 5% of the construction value, I would recommend to you design the whole area.
Director DeVoe.
I agree with that rationale. I think we're at a point where we need to start really making some forward progress on this project. We have a design that I think we all have agreement on. It hits all the marks as far as the priorities that we've laid out. But in order to put a shovel in the ground, we got to get designs to see what true cost is to make a decision, as Mr. Twing said, about if and how to move forward with which segments. And the design fee going up because the scope of the project has grown is very reasonable, and the percentage is reasonable. So I'll move for approval.
I'll second.
Motion by Director Dubuc, second by Director Dunstan. Director Yasmin.
I can't disagree with anything that Mr. Twing or Mr. DeBuck said. However, I can't envision a world where we spend $3 million on this project. And if we are going to cut some of this project down, it's likely going to include that piece west of Lafayette. So in light of our budget discussions that we've had over the last couple months, I would think it would make sense to not delay the project, but delay that portion of the design east or west of Washington, which amounts to about $60,000 in design fees. Yeah, I don't think that delays everything. It gives us the ability to go forward with construction drawings on the part that I think is more likely to move forward, and we save 60 grand. Maybe it's important, maybe it's not, but to me, that 60 grand it can be spent in other ways right now.
If I may. So
Go ahead, Daniel, and then I am.
just a piece on these 5 pieces of the design, the concept that was approved by the board in November and the commission in January. All of these pieces have been submitted to the grant programs. And so if we reduce the scope ahead of this, then we potentially risk the $1.3 million in grants. We've already accepted $311,000. That other $1 million, I'm expecting the the response to be in the next 4 weeks. And so part of that grant application is all of these bells and whistles that are in the current design. So these enhanced crosswalks that connect the plazas, the enhanced lighting, all of the pieces that are part of this, we risk the $1 million if we adjust that at this point too greatly.
So you're saying we're compelled to do this $3 million project no matter how we feel once we get the construction numbers back?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying at this point, it is in your best interest to move forward with the whole design to get the numbers on that and to get the bid documents on that while we're still in consideration for this grant.
Okay, Director DeVoe.
Like, I just saying in response to that, like there's economies of scale in getting this design done all at one time. So we take that out, carve that money out, but eventually we do want to design that section. It's going to cost more than it would right now as part of this broader design. And it's not going to expire if we choose that we don't want to invest the full amount of dollars for this full project. But we will still have a design that we can pull the trigger on when we're ready that is synergized with everything else that we're intending to do. And so I don't see why we would carve that out now as opposed to getting it designed and ready so that when we do have the capital, if we don't want to move forward in phase one with that portion, it's ready to go when we're ready to go, when we have the dollars that we want to invest in. And to save potentially $60 when we're investing, $60,000, we're investing $150 a year in the temporary ice rink, which has tremendous value. I just think we have to recognize like what we're getting for the dollars we're putting in here, and I think getting this design done now so we can pursue maximum grant dollars, and so we have options going forward is a wise investment. So I still recommend moving forward with it.
Director Leclerc.
So recapping this to crayon eating level, right? We invest for the designs only. It does not commit us to anything else beyond the entire $3 million, correct? Because our budget, if we all sat down at the marketing, is really not looking good right now. So at least if we get this section, it doesn't risk our grants. So we get this done, and then if we need to put off spending $3 million for a year or so or more until we get our parking and our budget looking right, is that okay?
We have if we were to get the grant awarded in April, you have what is currently in the budget. You have your fiscal year 25-26 that starts this July 1st. And then before the end of the grant, you still have fiscal year 26-27 that can go towards it as well. And so there is the potential that if you design this, you could build this over multiple phases that's more palatable of a price with those grant dollars there. But as far as adjusting it at this point.
So get the designs now, and we can still wait and not screw our budget next year.
You could design the plaza now, and if you chose to piecemeal it out, you could build it over 10 years.
Cool.
Aren't there some time constraints in there in the use of the money, though?
Yeah, so just to repeat, the grant is awarded in about a month. You currently have $1.5 million in your current fiscal year that is budgeted for the plaza. Next year, your fiscal year 25-26 that starts July 1st, you have that budget to work out of. And then you have a whole fiscal year 26-27 that when that fiscal year ends, June 30th, 2027, that's when the plaza would have to be finished. So you have basically 3 budget cycles that you're working out of to get this whole $3 million plaza. The WRAP grant with the MSOC dollars are about 50% of those funds too.
Right, and when the bids come back, you will see the bids. You will be party to awarding the bids, so you will see and have an opportunity to say, let's do this much this next fiscal year, or let's do less, or so you will see it when it comes back, but you'll be working with actual contract figures.
Tim, can I ask for an explanation on the figure for construction services? Just in layman terms, what is that?
They're going to be our field representative out in the field, making sure they're building it to the plans in the correct fashion into code, rather than having Daniel and I try to stand out there or someone else who know nothing. So they'll be our field representative during construction. So that fee will not occur unless you award a contract in the future. It's just,
And
it's
that would
an
be-
estimate based on what's today.
And that would be adjusted based on how much we consume
Right.
of the project. If it's $1 million, they get 6.9% of the $1 million.
If you only do 2 segments, they'll only get 6.9% of that.
Does the design fee, that's locked and loaded, or is that gonna be 5.85% of what the construction bids come out as? I'm just
No,
curious.
those percentages are part of their original proposal, so they're pretty much locked in.
The percentages, but if say we came
The
back in
dollar
at five,
amounts of- yeah.
if it came in at $5 million, really unexpected, would we pay them 5.85% of the $5 million, or would we pay?
Well, again, if the bids come back and they're higher, you don't have to bless them.
Understood, but
Right.
I'm talking about their design fee.
Right. No, their design fee is what their design fee is.
Okay, so that does not change
You're awarding
based on
that
the
today,
construction
yeah.
cost?
Yeah.
Okay, and the delta is $60,000 from original to new.
And the original design fee was based on an estimate when you awarded that contract to Fleece and Vanderbrook, so.
Yes, based on the $1 million.
Yeah.
So I just want to be sure, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
If we submit this entire design for these grant applications and we're awarded these grants based on this entire design, if we then subsequently decide not to do the entire design, i.e. maybe west of Washington, are we going to endanger the grant award?
That would be up to the conversation with the MEDC, and would have to deal with the substance of the plaza. So if they awarded us a grant of $1 million, the minimum that we have to spend then on this is $2 million. And that was in the packet that was presented when we discussed going after these grants based on this final concept that includes three tabletop intersections or enhanced pedestrian safety and the plaza pieces. If you chose to do 2 pieces of the plaza, 1 piece of the intersection, and we're still hitting those thresholds, we could have the conversation with MEDC that says, all right, Lafayette and Center, it's still the whole plaza, we're still doing all of these things that we check our boxes on, but we're saving $900,000 and we're still meeting the requirements, then we're not putting it at risk. It's if we go forward and we cut out half of the price and we're suddenly at 1.5 million, they may take the grant back or they may amend the grant dollars down from $1 million to whatever 50% is. The things to consider as well within these pricings are the contingency line items. That's a 20% bank of the bids might come out slightly more expensive. There's also the chance that the bids are going to come in under what they're projecting, and this plaza could end up costing the $2 million that you were hoping.
Right, we need $2 million to get the $1 million.
Yes, and you need to, for the Main Street grant, the minimum's $800,000 to reach their requirements.
Does part of the grant application include programming?
Yes, and we did discuss the ideas that were discussed by the infrastructure committee for the finalization of these designs. So that's things like activations in all 4 seasons, what we currently do, which is the social district Saturdays, the use of it for outdoor dining for nearby restaurants, the use for just general outdoor seating and shade. And then we've also expanded in that application. We discussed, the chamber has expressed if this plaza is done, they may move some events there. If we do some of these in the plaza side that's west, it enhances things for stagecrafters. So all of that and their support letters have been included in that grant application that include programming and use.
So part of the $2 million that we'd have to spend for the $1 million could include programming?
No, sorry, I misunderstood what you were asking. So the $1 million grant for the $2 million is just for the construction of this. It's just for the creation of the hardscape that's in this plan.
But we got 300 earlier to help us pay for the design.
Yes.
So we did get $300,000 from the grant to help pay for design services and programming of the grant.
Director Johnson.
I have a question for Daniel. Is this like a reimbursement type thing, or how does that work?
Do you know?
Yes.
Okay.
Most grants these days are reimbursement based, and so we would work with Fleece and Vanderbrink, and there are certain thresholds in that grant where when we spend a certain amount, we can submit to get that amount back.
Gotcha.
So that's a rolling amount because they recognize that not everything's going to be done in a month.
So we spend it and then we get it reimbursed. And then the only other thing I was gonna say is I agree, I feel that we should move ahead with this. And even if there's portions of this we don't do, and maybe they won't get done for a while, if there's like 10 new people sitting up here, at least they have that and they get a head start. We've been a victim up here of a lot of things we didn't have that advantage for. So I really think it makes sense to go ahead and complete this portion of the project, at least get to a point where we got bids coming in the door.
Just a final note for those that are worried about the cost of the final product. You have $1.5 million in your budget this year. You have a $300,000 grant from the county, and if we get the WRAP grant for $1 million, that leaves you with a total of $570,000 left to finish constructing it, which could go towards the fiscal year 26-27 budget.
Okay.
If that makes it more palatable.
It does.
Okay. Anything further? I already have a motion and a second on the table. If there's nothing else, I'll call for the vote on the resolution. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes. Okay, Daniel, did you want to do anything with the reports here? I can tell the board that item A, B, and C are special event permits that are working their way through the city commission.
Oh, they've already been blessed.
They've already been blessed. Okay.
No, these are all informational items, unless Daniel wants to cover the event reports or the Commission for the Arts annual report. I provided you with a update on the parking system update from the draft assessment from Dixon, who is working through the city and the committee on a replacement for the MPS system, so you can review. Item F is a status of where the downtown light assessment is at, that OHM, that the board hired to do that status, and there's some information in there. In the next few weeks, my understanding, you should be getting they should be finishing up a report on what has been corrected and what still needs to be corrected. And I know they've been asked to provide some estimates of what the cost would be to correct some of the lighting issues. The next item was simply a summary table of the demolition bids for the old Center Street deck. That's just informational. And then there's the event reports that Daniel ran from Pacer.
And those event reports were just the ones that are directly corresponding to the events that were on the agenda today.
Okay, thank you. I'd encourage the board to, if you have time, to read item E, the parking system project update. There's some valuable information in there. And in terms of item F, there's some good reading there, and from what I know of it, I have seen considerable progress moving forward, and we're still getting started with that. But there have been some repairs that have already been finished and done, so kind of pleased about that also, because I know people are concerned about that particular item. Director Keith.
Yeah, just on those two items, can I just talk about them real quick?
Sure.
Just some questions and things. So, are we talking about the lighting and the infrastructure committee? Like we're working on getting the budget peeled out to take care of the 23 issues?
As Mr. Twing mentioned, we're expecting.
Yeah, as soon as we have a complete report on the assessment of where the problems are, what the problems are, and hopefully an estimate of what the cost might be, then yes, the infrastructure committee would look at it and make recommendations on a funding level and a priority location level.
Perfect.
I will say though, Director Keith, that the downtown lighting, depending on what the report says, we may be looking at a multi-year
Yeah, I mean, it
type of
doesn't look
situation.
too bad on the issue. I didn't see any cost in the document. I just didn't see any estimated cost.
Yeah, there isn't an estimated cost yet. This is just their
It's just-
field.
that's
This is simply their
forthcoming.
field evaluations. Once they get the entire downtown area done, they'll put the estimates together by area. I think this report was based on 85% being
Okay.
through the entire downtown.
Great.
Yeah, and on the committee, we discussed, just so you know, that, like I said, it might be a multi-year thing where we do like we do with street paving, and we might take a section of town, do that project, do that section, following year, do a different section. And that's gonna be based on what the report says in terms of need.
Understood. Thank you. The other item I had is in terms of the parking RFP and some of those considerations, to voice those concerns, like, like the comment about the heads versus the pay stations, right? I see in the RFP, it's kind of both are available and you can go for both. Is that selection and that discussion going to be brought back to the infrastructure committee, or is that going to be a special committee, or where do we get our opportunity to review that information so that we can provide our opinion?
Okay, so I can tell you that there's 3 of us on the committee, along with three of us from the DDA, along with 3 city commissioners. And Mr. Twain has been there, and other city officials have been there also. We're working with, I can't think of- Dixon.
Yep.
As a consultant on this. Everybody seems to be pretty happy about the progress that we're making on it. We've been pushing them on timelines for sure. But we're expecting more, very soon we're expecting another
Well, the
report
RFPs,
back from
yeah,
them, because they said there was a deadline for some of our comments this Friday.
there was a couple of different RFPs went out to deal with the parking system, but the one I think that most people are interested in is the actual equipment, the kiosk, and how it works. And the vendors are going to be required to provide responses to the RFP and provide those types of equipment to the city, and have some, I'll call it a town hall meeting, but some display area that they go through and give everyone an opportunity to use that equipment and make comment on that equipment before a selection's made. So that's probably the best opportunity as far as but if I get reports from Dixon, they'll be presented to the board and you'll see them.
Awesome. One last question. Sorry to be a drag. It's
sorry.
nice out. But on the LPR improvements in terms of like the enforcement efficiency and coverage, does that entail getting a ticket sent to you via mail, or is that it's not? Okay. So I think that's a big thing, is I don't want to see anything going in the mail that they get a surprise ticket, right? So that's fine. I don't mind getting efficiency and enforcement. I just want the ticket to be left on the window.
Yes.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely part of our discussion, and definitely.
I'm just a little bit out of the loop and just trying to make sure
No,
that
that's
some
good.
things are covered.
No, that's good, and that was one of the highlight features that is the 3 DDA members are
Yep.
trying to push forward.
Perfect. Thank you.
Anything else that anybody wants to bring to the board tonight? Seeing none?
Motion.
Motion by Director Leclave to adjourn. Second by Director LaGrasso. And I'm seeing nothing, so I will call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes, and we are adjourned. Thank you.
That's where I get manual enforcement. Right.